Alright, what about the spaceship merchants? First thing, while it has some similarities to an 18XX game with the trains rusting, some similarities to the theme in 2038, this is no XX game. It has very, very little in common in terms of the flavor of the play. The similarities to 2038 are a little stronger, where you've got these claims, etc., thematically. But the actual play and the thought processes in this game, some of them are the same. Again, making that decision, the hard decision of where to spend your money on claims, in this game, on things like pilots, equipment, but also on the spaceships. All that's there, but you're totally lacking, the stock market side of it. The route development is non-existent anymore. You've just got these, commodities sitting in your area where they're harder for someone else to reach. That's all very, abstract compared to the 2038, hey, I've got to, set up a line of connecting mines that work for my company, given its starting location, given all these fuel positionings and all that. So this is a much less topographical game, given that it doesn't really have a map. It's just got this sort of rondelish thing as a game board where you're moving from place to place. I like this a lot less than many games. It's too... It requires too much thinking. And you could say, well, wait, isn't 18XX sort of like the most intense, brain-burning type, given, what people are always talking about who are heavy Euro people? No. I'm not sure if you tried to grasp all of XX, yeah, it would be, but I don't think anybody does that. I saw comments on my old friend Tom's the thread marking his, commemorating his passing away or whatever, and they talk about, well, he could always tell if somebody was going to go bankrupt. Yeah, that's usually not too hard. Usually there are these broad things you can see, but it would take a tremendous amount of focus to really, really look at an XX game and just understand everything that's going on. Even people who are experts at it walk away stunned by the results of certain games. Stunned by the play of other players, often very bad. But, this, I don't feel like you're going to have that. I feel like in this, you have the kind of options that you have in a lot of the heavier Euros. What's a little neat about this that I think distinguishes it favorably from a lot of these heavier, very calculation-dominant Euros is that there is sort of that good amount of luck in it. It's not enough to destabilize the game like in something like Bullfrog Goldfields or whatever it is, but it's enough to mean that you have to manage some risk. Kind of like in 2038, to tell you the truth, where you're drawing chits, but I think there's less in this than in 2038. I think you're less likely to fall into a win on this, that you can calculate out your moves a little bit better and reduce your risks. You might luck into something good. Given how close the game is, that luck element may be enough to determine who wins the game. But it's not going to create this huge disparity the way it does in some games. Bullfrog Goldfield is an example. 2038 is another example. Maybe 1853 as well. I think this is a better amount of luck for people who do like the heavier Euros. I think this is an amount that feels like it has a less dominating effect on the game. But here's the problem. Whatever path you follow, it almost feels like it's going to be a very close game. I'm not sure how much certain strategies, certain pathways are going to be better than others. That would take a lot of playing, the kind of playing that I put into very, very few games, and none nowadays. So you'd have to look to people who have really, really kind of glommed onto this game and love it, to have played it enough to be able to say, yeah, it's balanced, or no, there's certain strategies that just, certain combinations that you just aim for, and you can really almost set your path at the beginning of the game. There is an interesting factor around the way the spaceships come out. They come out kind of like they do in 2038. It's not as annoying as it is in 2038 because the game doesn't last as long. One of the big problems with 2038 is the spaceships get frozen and then the game just doesn't end for a while. The money keeps cranking out. Or somebody pushes the ships out because they realize they're not winning. So this has some of that thought with pushing the ships or trains out to try to hurt someone, but I'm not sure how much you can really harm them with it. It looks to me like there just aren't those big, dominating, powerful moves in this game. Whatever you do, you're playing within this very narrow needle range. I kind of don't like that. I like a game where if you do a body blow to someone, one of you comes out alive and the other one doesn't, or maybe both of you come out just hosed by it. This is not that kind of game. You steal mines from someone, well, they can figure out something else to do. You trash their ships just before they make their run. Well, on the bright side, they don't take as long making their run in the position. Component-wise, I don't like these little cards. They're a pain in the ass to shuffle, but they're good quality otherwise. Little player aids, nice. They have a nice texture to them. The counters, a lot of the modern Euros are coming out with these kind of, I don't know, it's this wonderful feel to the counter. When you touch it, it's sort of slick, but not a glossy slick, just almost a silky feel to it. I really like that. And these are, very, very high quality components. The board itself is a little cheesy looking, just, your paper pasted onto normal board material. Kind of sturdy. The bag is this obviously fake, so part of me kind of recoils from it. Yeah, I'm probably the only person who reviews the bags to games. You almost recoil to it, but you almost want more, and it's this weird kind of feeling about that. I don't know how to feel about this bag yet. It's kind of like a false velvety feel. I don't know. But the components are pretty solid. What I don't like is this rule book. It's an absolute mess. Like, if you look, I played it wrong with my wife. It wasn't until I looked at one of the little player aids that I saw something that, I think I played it wrong. Again, I'm not someone who's going to look online and try to figure out how to play a game. If you don't get it right with the rule book and the components, or at least close enough to right that I can figure it out, we got a problem, right? I'm not really thrilled with the idea of living rules, or, hey, we can remake this game, let's just, get it printed, and not bother to put a sheet of errata in, not bother to have, you gotta wonder, did this get blind tested? There's play testers listed, but, how could you hand something off that's got so many ambiguities and issues that aren't really well nailed down? How could that get through blind testing? A simple sheet of paper with, it doesn't have to be this glossy crap that probably costs a lot more to print. A simple sheet of paper with some description of the cards to flesh them out a little bit more would be tremendously helpful. A number of those I'm left kind of with I'm not sure what this means or what it doesn't. Maybe there are examples or something in here. I don't consider that rules, of course. But I don't see much that would handle the specific cases where the rules are not clear enough on the cards themselves or elsewhere. Of course, I played and screwed up my Starship allotment. It would have been even slower than it was. That's one of the problems I always have with 2038. It's the ships come out too slowly. It's not a brutal enough game. I almost think with this you might want to mix it up a little bit sometimes by dealing a different amount of ships into the game. I think there are maybe too many ships to really handle, at least in the 4-player game. And even in the 2-player game, it felt like there wasn't enough. You really had to choke on it to buy those bigger ships. You really had to take it down, and it probably wouldn't happen. My wife didn't see a need to do so. She went away without... Actually, she won this, didn't she? Yeah, she won this one. I was mistaken in my... midway through, I would say. She didn't understand it, but she managed to win it anyway. I'm here thinking I understand it, not sure who's going to win. And that's one of the things I think is a very close game. And I'm not sure, I didn't feel like, I absolutely get this game. But I didn't feel confused about it. She felt completely blind in it, yet still managed to pull off a win in it. And that doesn't feel right. Now, of course, I may have just been really in the dark, even more than she was, thinking I understood it. But my sort of gut instincts with an XX type game, get a lot of production going, etc., they don't necessarily apply here. It ends fast. It's like playing a short game like a short game of 1830. Plays very different from the long game rules. So that's kind of a thought here is, well, certainly with more experience, you're going to get a better feel for whether or not you're winning or not, but I felt like my gut instincts towards what I wanted to do in terms of investment and everything didn't work out terribly well for me, for whatever reason. Anyway, like I said, this isn't really to my taste. I think it's more of a Euro game than I really like, more of the heavier Euro, but it's not at that terribly, terribly annoying level that some tend to get to, where I'm just, doing so much counting in my head. I feel like this is one where I don't really mind just kind of, phoning in the game, as it were, while I'm playing it, because it's going to be close anyway. That's something I alluded to in the wrap. I don't think I'd put a lot of effort in this. I know I'm going to finish within a reasonable distance of everyone else. I'm not too concerned about winning as long as I don't lose by too much, right? And that may be a positive for some people, that they don't feel like they have to put too much in for it. I know I'd rather play something like this than something where I'm furious because I couldn't figure out what I was doing at all. Here you kind of feel like, okay, I thought I was winning, but I wasn't. That's cool, But yeah, I don't know. I don't know in the end, whether or not that just ends up being maybe that all paths are viable, and it kind of depends on, being opportunistic, which I tend to be very good at being, or if it's all paths are viable, and a lot of it comes down to, hey, I can see this, I can take a risk management type decision. All right, I know that I'm going to have to dump those destinations. Or the guy in front of me dumps those destinations, or whatever, takes the thing I need. You can't calculate everything in advance. That much I definitely like about it. That helps make it kind of an easy game. The guy ahead of you into a location has the chance to spoil your plans if you set them. There are times, though, when you know that nobody will be messing with you in these steps. That you have enough space between what you're doing and what the guy ahead of or behind, or however you want to look at it, because it's all one cycle, is going to be doing. And you can also, of course, keep an eye on the guy behind you and see if you can kind of screw up his plans a little bit. I don't know. The level of interaction feels pretty cool. You can steal things from someone. It's bad, but it's not terrible. You're not, you're not really hosing their position completely. So that's kind of decent. But this is not something that I'd feel compelled to play very much. Certainly solitaire, not at all. But opposed, I don't think I'd mind it too much. Maybe after a couple of playings, it would end up feeling kind of like Outpost, where I'm just like... Outpost felt like it was too much work, though. This doesn't. This feels like, maybe because some of it's natural to me with the XX feel, I just kind of go on autopilot on some of it. And that may be what killed me in it, is going on autopilot on it too much. I don't know. But it's an okay game. All right.